Today's video is kind of short on technical knowledge, but really long on telling a good story about how I eventually got to Munson grapes. I may not be the smartest guy in the world, and I beat my head against the wall a few times because I really wanted a particular kind of grape, and it just wouldn't work in Broomtown. So give it a watch. It's full of drama, it's full of failure, and it's full of success. So it's an all-around good story. Let's go look at some grapes. It's hot. It's July 1st, and that noise is rough, isn't it? It's July 1st, and it's been 90s today. And you know, these grapes are amazing. They love it. This is just when they thrive. And well, we started this, I don't know the right word, quest, journey, insanity about wanting grapes. I really wanted wine grapes, like, you know, real. You go buy a bottle of wine that says Merlot. So, you know, naive me was like, why can't you buy Merlot grapes? And the answer is you can. And the answer is, where we live, they don't work. It's horrible. It's, it's beyond horrible. They died a horrible death. And so then I started reading and doing some homework, and where we are in the southeast is a lot of fungus and a lot of humidity and heat and all those things that promote fungal growth and mildews and that type deal. So all the grapes that I decided I wanted didn't work and weren't gonna work. And I'm hard-headed. I tried everything. I did more research, and I went and got spent a lot of money buying grapes from when UC Davis did a trial where they were making grapes for the southeast that were Pierce's disease resistance, PD, and I thought, well, I'll try those. So I bought them, really early adopter, and paid a fortune. And they are Pierce disease resistant, but they're not fungus at all resistant. You got to have this amazingly detailed spray program.
They're not cold hardy either.
And they're not particularly cold hardy. Where we are, as we've talked about it on other stuff, you know, I'm on that border. I'm going to get 4 and 5 degrees Fahrenheit in the winter. And but my summers are like today, it's at 96, 97 degrees and humid. It's I don't know what the humidity is today, but it's 89% probably. So 3 years of those grapes dying. I finally started, you know, I'm not one to give up, and maybe that's out of stupidity, but I didn't. So what can you grow that will make wine or table grapes, depending on what you want, and not require that spray? I just can't. I'm not willing to do the level of spraying that's required to do that. It's a lot. Even, you know, I don't care if you're coming from a situation where you say, well, I'm organic or I'm not organic. It's the scheduling, the rudimentation of the rotation and how much, and it's overwhelming. Unless you've got big, huge equipment with sprayer. You know, if I was going to open a winery, that's different. But I'm not. I'm just, you know, going to have a few grapes. I've got, I don't know, 250 vines now. And that's a long dissertation about where am I at. And where I'm at is, I guess, go back to the past to do the future. Munson, is a fellow named Thomas Munson out of Texas, and he spent a good portion of his life going around in the 1890s and the 1900s collecting specimens to try to crack that code to be able to do wine grapes or table grapes commercially or home, and not devote the rest of your life to spraying and chemicals and fungicides. If you read the label on some of those fungicides, they absolutely scare you to death. And you know, I'm not a big PPE. I don't wear the. It's okay that I'm not doing that, I guess is the reason. So I researched for about a year and got some folks to help me in, you know, at different nurseries, grape cellars, and we redid everything. And I didn't use any Munsons, and I used all modern Vinifera, and they all died. So, you know, I'm 6 years into this, and I don't have anything alive. And okay, I didn't have much left. And that's when I guess the light came on, and we said, if Munson could do this 120 years ago, how is it possible to do it? So I'll go through, I don't want to bore you. This is not that video to tell you about all the research. This is the video to tell you how I got to where I am showing you these videos that are coming up that are about Munson type grapes. Munson type grapes are American grapes. They're indigenous. They're original grapes. They're not muscadines. Everybody, when you say that, they think, oh, you're talking about they're grapes. But my God, they're just impervious to everything. Let's see if this. Anyway, these are and I'll do a video on them. I'm out here. These are champanelles, and gosh, they just make grapes. I mean, they just make grapes. And I have not sprayed these the first time this year with anything, and you can see the growth. You just the vegetation. Normally I'm better. I have them trimmed back a little bit, but you can see other rows behind those. For me, I've hit the jackpot. So once one of these Munson varieties worked for me, you know, you start going, well, what else did he have? So I started researching, and I started online where I guess every good research starts, and there's several places that sell these things. You know, I guess the real deal for me was it started as a challenge. Everybody said you can't produce quality grapes in the Southeast, and it's hard. And I spent 8 years learning what won't work, all the way to getting into the UC Davis grapes as they were coming out, and Cornell varieties, and none of them worked. And I started reading about Munson and how he traveled, and how he was getting all these American breeds that could handle the fungal disease load here. If you've never, you ought to read about him. He's an absolute genius, especially for the 1800s. And that kind of is what stimulated me to keep going. I guess the fact that they're so hard to come by, these varieties of Munson grapes, that in itself was also kind of a challenge. They're not the newest, shiniest thing, you know, on the market. And like I said, there's nobody selling them as far as like live plants, with some exceptions. And I know a couple of the guys that are doing that, and I bought from them, and they're wonderful. But if you're going to try to put 100 of them out, for me, I had to try to figure out the most economical way to do it, and cuttings were what worked for me. Okay, that's better. I started trying to find other varieties of Munson grapes that maybe can successfully make it here. And that's what this quest is procuring there are no grape, live plant sales. It's not like you go down to the nursery and order these. You're dealing with sticks, and people, it's kind of amazing. It's people trade these things and sell the sticks, sell the cuttings, and then you root the cuttings and you bring them up. So, you got a little time involved in this. By the time you decide I want a Champanelle variety, and you find somebody that'll send you the stick at the right time of the year, and then you root it in the spring, you pot it up and get it a certain length, get it planted. That's the first winter, and then the next winter you grow and get to the, it's 3 years minimum before you get a grape. And I'm not 30, so I get I guess a level of anxiety about how am I going to get all this done if it's going to take 3 to 5 years to get this started. So my answer was get them all at one time and do them instead of a little at a time. And that's what I've done. I've gotten probably 7 or 8 varieties of Munson grapes, and I'll show you a parade of these where I've rooted them and got them to the to planting, so that you can see, and we can talk about each variety as it comes. But I challenge you to do a little bit of homework about American grapes. They don't get a good rap. Everybody thinks that you got to have Vinifera, French wine grapes, if you will, and you don't. But consumerism, I think, drives a lot of that market. There's a school of thought that I got to grow what people will buy instead of I got to grow something that can be so far superior that people will want to buy. And there's a few people doing that. There's some folks in Missouri at Terravox, and their whole model is in American grapes, and they do amazing work, and they sell a lot of wine, and they have a big winery and tasting rooms, all based on American grapes that a lot of people say, you can't do or you can't sell, and obviously they are. It's effort, but it's a heck of a lot more enjoyable than trying to fit the mold and not being successful with it over and over and over. That's I don't know, somebody said something about that's the definition of insanity, is keep doing something that doesn't work over and over again. So I didn't want to do that, and here we are. So stay tuned. I may touch on some other Munson stuff. I don't, if you watch my videos, you know that it's not scripted, and most of the time I just ramble on. But so I don't know the finished product or what you're going to see. What I hope you can get out of it is there was a guy in Texas that was looking for grapes that people in the States could grow and be successful with. And I guess in the vein of irony, he ended up saving French wine industry with these American grapes. They had a pretty bad case of phylloxera, and we won't get into the I won't get into science, but they didn't have any way to combat it. So this Munson fella said, well, I wonder if we don't have that here, and these grapes varieties are impervious to it, and I wonder if we grafted wine vinifera onto these American roots, and it worked. So he's sending boatloads of this root stock over, and they got statues of him, and nobody here knows who he is. So maybe we can change this. I know that, my scope and reach is not terribly wide with almost 200 subscribers, but maybe it'll leave a kernel in somebody's head that says, there was an American guy at the turn of the century that saved the French wine industry and came up with a lot of cool varieties that we can use in the United States. And that's what I'm doing. I'm trying really hard to focus on his grapes, and so far it has been it's been an amazing success. So, having said it, that's a good deal to stop with and tag along and watch the other videos. The farm manager will put them in some kind of packaging where you can see them all. What's it called? A playlist. And that'll make it easier. So thanks for watching, and thanks for putting up with us, and I hope you enjoy it. Thanks. Hey, thanks for watching, and if you would, take a second to hit the subscribe button for us. It helps us a lot. I appreciate it.